Welcome to the Down Dog Athletics Podcast, a competitor's guide to mental health and mastery. My name is Paul Klingon. I've known sports and training my entire life, but it wasn't until I worked on my mind that I finally started achieving what I believed I was capable of. When I combined mindful and spiritual practices to my already competitive demeanor, I gained a new level of clarity in life and traded my career at Amazon to start Down Dog Athletics. In this podcast, I interview top athletes and coaches to uncover the mindsets of top performers. You'll hear from doctors, authors, and experts in the health space as they break down how to take your mental health, physical health, and performance to the next level. And last but not least, you'll hear from me in my experiences and how I'm cultivating growth for myself and my clients, both mentally and physically. Let's go. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Mindful Muscle Podcast, Competitor's Guide to Mental Health and Mastery. My name is Paul Klingon, and I'm your host. Hope you guys are all having a great Thursday, a great end of the first week of January. Made it through what is, kind of that tough time when you get all that time off, then you got to come back. But boom, now we're in it. Hopefully we are a week into our New Year's resolutions. We're crushing it, and I'm really excited because I'm introducing a 4-part series this month, and this is part 1 of the 4, where I interview people just like you, people that a year and a half ago, were in the exact same shoes as you, wanting to make a change, recognizing that they needed to make a change, and we talked through how they did it. We talked through the mistakes they made. We talked through all the different things that they learned, lessons that they would, share for themselves, or things that they would tell themselves 5 years ago, and even advice that they would have for people like you that might be on the same journey. And I like to say, we all get caught up saying, we compare each other, right? What does someone's chapter 20 look like? Yet we don't realize we're on chapter 1. Like, we're on our own completely different journey, and our chapter 20 might look like that. It might look better. It might look different, but we can't compare our journey to someone else's. We got to just look at our position at where we're at and see, all right, what did other people do when they were in our chapter, so that I can apply that, and I can apply these mindsets, and I can apply these lessons. And so the first person that I'm interviewing is my friend over from Bellevue, which is just across from Seattle, Carson Denny. And he is working to become a police officer. He's lost, I think, 80 pounds since college and created a fitness account and kind of had this aha moment where he's like, man, I really need to change what I'm doing. So I'll let him share the rest of the story, but just want to say I'm really excited to share these because it's not just me talking about me or what maybe my clients are doing. This is stories of different people that had different problems, that had different things they had to work on, and you're going to learn all that. So here we go. Without further ado, my interview with Carson. So yeah, I recorded 10 podcasts on what I thought was going into GarageBand using this audio headset. And I had an audio guy come out because I was like, the audio is terrible. Yeah. Why is the audio terrible? And anyone who's listened to my podcast, the first 10 episodes, you're probably like, yeah, he's right. It wasn't too great. So he came out and he's like, oh, well, this isn't plugged in and this isn't synced up. So you're literally just going through your computer's audio device. And I was like, oh, tight. So I had a guy come out. He set up my podcast equipment, synced everything. Like, there's so many wires. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when you get a TV and you have your Xbox and your cable box and your sound bar and so many things, and you're just trying to plug them all in, and as soon as it works, you're just don't touch anything.
I can only imagine, man.
And so I don't know. This is now 85, 86 for podcasts, and now we got you here.
Here we go.
So I want to introduce you to everyone listening. We got Carson Denny here, and this is a new segment that I wanted to start doing based on the feedback from the listeners and different people in social media and the Mindful Muscle Facebook community is Paul, your story's cool, but we want to hear from other people what their experience is with fitness and transformations, what they struggled with, what they found worked, what they did when things didn't work and they failed, and what they've learned and kind of how they've grown. Yep. So, dude, thank you for coming over across the 520 and coming and talking to me in person.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
So I guess we'll just start with your journey and however many years or months ago it started, and kind of just paint the picture of where you were with your fitness.
Gosh, I've been working out since I was a kid, basically. Played football growing up my whole life, so I was always involved in sports and fitness and things like that. And then once I got to college, I just kind of stopped. I stopped caring. I fell into that life that so many people fall into. I started drinking beer and hanging out with the boys, and before I knew it, I was a thick kid. I was a big boy. And so, a few years into my time in Arizona, I actually did start going to the Arizona Rec and working out. Moved home in 2016 and just continued the motions doing what I thought I should do. Made no progress over about 5 years, 4 years, give or take. And then last year, 2019, so 2 years ago now, I was on a work trip in LA in December, and I was fortunate enough to stop by Gold's Gym Venice, which I know is not the most realistic of all places, but it really it showed me that I wasn't living the life that I thought I was living. And that, regardless of what's a realistic goal, I wasn't living a life that I wanted to live. I was basically living a lie. So I talked to a few people trying to figure out what I could do to actually gain traction in the fitness world and to be healthier. And I ended up meeting my coach, and he's been fantastic for me. And since then we've just been running. I've lost about 80 pounds now since college. I lost 40 pounds in the spring last year. And we're just working.
Question: where did you go to school?
I went to school down in Arizona. I actually went to a community college down there called Pima with the intention of transferring to Arizona. As you know, school ended up not being my thing. Business ended up, not really working out with that. But I feel like I found my calling and my passion in law enforcement now. So everything worked out for a reason in terms of school.
So when you got into law enforcement, you had those 80 pounds on you, and that was definitely affecting your job.
Well, I'm still working on it. I'm still, working towards it. Like I said yesterday, I just took some tests and stuff. So, still getting there. But yeah, when I started this passion, it's been years now that I've been trying to get in. It's not as easy to get in to law enforcement as some people make it out to be, or some people may seem. But yeah, I was still a big boy, and I told myself and told everyone that, being big is a deterrent. People don't want to mess with the big guy. But it was just another way that I was lying to myself to make myself feel better about just being fluffy. There was no intimidating or deterrent factors of just being a big boy.
Were you wanting to deter people from like a confrontation standpoint, or
Yeah.
so you didn't get in fights,
Yeah.
or so you didn't have to talk to anyone? They're like, that guy's scary.
Yeah. And in the line of work being just like the first line of deterrence is just called presence, just being there. Nobody really wants to mess with the big guy. So if you're in law enforcement and you're the big guy, then you're less likely to get into scuffles and things of that nature. So I always just told myself if I could just continue being the big guy, then eventually when I got into law enforcement, I would be able to use it to my advantage. And gosh, it turns out now that with the job that I'm doing now, being big and wearing body armor and a vest and everything is not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go to the Mecca.
Yeah.
Right. And what about going there made you realize that you were lying to yourself?
I had a fitness Instagram, as you know, and I posted stuff on there, and I was just kind of lying about it. I was not eating the way that I should have been eating. I was training great. I was going through the motions, basically doing what everyone said to do, but I just wasn't eating. And seeing some of the people down there, I was like, wow, I, project this image on Instagram and stuff, and to my friends that I'm this fitness person and I'm into fitness and all this stuff, but just being down there and kind of seeing exactly what the human body can do, again, under absolutely ideal circumstances. I understand that the big bulked up bodybuilder look isn't for everyone and isn't necessarily healthy to everyone. But just kind of seeing exactly what the human body could do really showed me I can do more. I can do way more. I just don't have the knowledge right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like thinking you've got this crazy small business that makes millions of dollars, and then you go to a conference and you're like, oh, what's up, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk? You're like, there's a lot more that I could be doing.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you, talk me through what you're doing from a training standpoint, because I was a lot of the same way where for me, I was just doing what I did in college and just ran through that and the whole concept of sleep and nutrition And for me, mindfulness was a big one. It sounds like nutrition was one where you just like don't even think about it.
Yep.
What were you doing that was pretty smart from a training standpoint, and then maybe like wasn't so smart? Maybe you're just following pseudo bro science.
Yeah, I mean, it was the pseudo bro science. It wasn't even pseudo bro science. I was just following the bro science. I had the whole bro split down: arms 3 times a week, chest, and then sometimes I'd hit legs. I'd go in there and do shrugs and lateral raises and call it a day for certain body parts. It was what it was for me. There was no scientific approach. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to do and what I saw other people doing. And it's not always a bad thing. There are certainly sometimes some resources and things of that nature on social media that you can watch and follow along with. And I mean, you're an excellent example. You post excellent content, but I was not following the right people. I was not taking the right path. So I was just doing all the wrong stuff. And like I said before, just spinning my wheels.
Yeah. How did you find your coach?
One of my friends, Zach, Zach is a bodybuilder in the Seattle area. I basically asked him, who's someone who's going to help me, because I hear all these horror stories about online coaches. They tell you, yeah, man, go work out and eat more protein and eat less carbs, and I'll check back in with you at the end of the week. And that's what I wanted to avoid because it's expensive. I mean, you know how much it costs. You run a business, so if I was going to spend money on it, I wanted to know that I was getting exactly what I was paying for. So Zach introduced me to AJ, Lionhearted AJ, and AJ's helped me a ton. I was very skeptical of online coaching, but it's been great working with AJ, and I would say online coaching these days more than ever, with the gyms being closed and things of that nature. If you can find a good one, go for it, because sometimes you'll be proven right, and I was glad that I was.
Yeah, and the industry is definitely moving that way.
Absolutely.
Right? Just because so many things are locked up, and there's so many tools and systems and ways for people to deliver good quality service, good quality information.
Yeah.
As opposed to like it used to just be like send an email
Yep.
and then you'd log into MySpace, right?
Exactly.
Like you didn't have that 20 years ago.
Yeah, and it's also getting harder to hide these days. There's more and more reviews online all the time. You can contact more and more people and say, hey, what was your experience with this guy? If you do your due diligence, I mean, this really works for anything, but in terms of just the narrow coaching aspect, if you do your due diligence and do the research, you won't get stuck with someone who doesn't care about you. And that was my biggest worry, is that I would get stuck with someone I didn't care about, or that didn't care about me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What did you guys change like the first week, the first month? What were some of the foundations that got uplifted?
Everything. From the way that I lifted, the way that my lifts were structured, the way my training split was structured, what I ate, how much water I was drinking, alcohol, almost everything changed overnight. And it was a gradual change from there, but day 1, hour 0, he made it very clear that it's like a whole new lifestyle. And since that day 1, hour 0, it's been awesome. I don't regret it one bit. I feel better. I feel like I am healthier. In terms of my headspace, I now know who I am and where I'm going, and it feels good, man. I mean, it's been a little bit under a year since we started working together, and since I really flipped the switch to a healthier life, and I could not be happier about where I am today.
Yeah. What were you doing from a training standpoint that was like where you were and where you are now? Because are you training for like where would you first? I'll take a step back. What are you training for now? What were you training for maybe 6 months ago?
A year ago, I was really just training to train. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. I was just kind of training to look good, and because I thought that's just what you had to do. There was no real focused point. I didn't know if I was trying to get lean. I didn't know if I was trying to get big. I didn't know if I was trying to get functional. I didn't know if I was trying to get mobile. I would just kind of go into the gym for a couple hours a day and do a bunch of stuff and then leave. Whereas now we have it pretty pointed now. A lot of what we do is strength building things. like I said before, it's good for my job. I need to be healthy. I need to have, a strong core, strong back, strong shoulders, things of that nature, good knees. So a lot of what we do is building my body back up. And, in a year, maybe I'll want to compete. In a year and a half, maybe I'll want to compete. Or, maybe I'll decide to take it in a different way and focus on yoga, or, focus more on mobility and things of that nature, functional strength. But right now we're really just trying to shore everything up and make sure that my body can handle what we're throwing at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're doing a lot of the main compound lifts,
Yep.
a lot of the main movement patterns.
Yep.
4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week?
6 days a week, yeah. So usually I take Sundays off, or kind of depending on work. If I can get, if I can't get into the gym one day because I get held over late at work or something, we'll change things up a little bit. But we try and shoot for 6 days, sometimes 5. And then usually an active recovery day. Sometimes that means going on a walk or going up to the mountain. And sometimes I literally go into the gym on my day off and just walk for an hour on the treadmill and then stretch.
Yeah.
Just something to keep me focused, because I never want to just have like an idle day where all I do is sit around and do nothing. It's not good for your muscles, as you know. It's not good for recovery. It's really not good for your brain either. So I try and keep busy 7 days a week, but training 6 days a week and training hard with a purpose is something that changed my life. Is when I realized that you can train intensely and you're going to get 10 times more out of 10 times less if you just train intensely than if you just go through the motions.
Yeah. And like when I hear that, it's like also how I would say is like training with intention, like intensely,
Yep.
right? It doesn't necessarily have to be like you're going in for 3 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
If you go in with a strategy and it builds within micros and mesos and macro cycles, you're going to get there. You talked about nutrition changing a lot. What have you changed from a nutritional standpoint? I think that's a big pain point, especially this time of the year, right? Early January, where people are like, all right, what am I doing wrong from a nutrition standpoint?
So the reason why I hired someone else to help me with this is because I don't know everything, and I don't have the time to learn it. So, like I said, I looked into who could help me the most, and this is what it was. The big thing that we did was portion control. So weighing everything and being super consistent with exactly how much I'm eating. And I know, okay, I'm eating probably half of what I was eating before and still feeling full because I'm eating the proper amount. I'm not stuffing myself with every single meal and then going like 8 hours without eating and then stuffing myself again and then going another 6 hours without eating and then stuffing myself right before bed. I'm eating, like 4 meals a day and then a couple of protein shakes. Much less, but it's keeping me full and it's keeping me healthy. So portion control was my biggest thing, and then just not snacking. I put the financial I put the finances into it, and it made me feel like, okay, now I have some skin in the game. Now I have to follow this. I paid this guy. I need to do the work, because if I just paid him and then I don't do what he tells me to do, I'm just wasting money, right?
Yeah.
So that was another big thing, is the financial obligation was like, oh, okay, well now I have to do this, and kind of tricking my brain into flipping that switch, which in the beginning worked out really well, but then I ended up really enjoying it, and you see your body changing, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. I can do all these things that I've never been able to do before and move the way I've never been able to, and then it kind of changes. But in the beginning, it was a big change for me.
Yeah, the skin in the game is a big one for me. Anytime I get a course or get a coach, and I'd have anyone listening to this podcast consider, like, if you get a car for free. So remember, you're 16, your parents are like, all right, here's a car, it's free. Like, how much do you love that? Versus if you like slave and you're like, oh my gosh, I put every single penny into like my savings and into this car, right? You're gonna approach it, you're gonna treat it differently. And not to say that just having like a regular gym membership isn't bad. I at some point will just have a regular gym membership, and you can have a fitness class membership, but those a lot of times will go unused because you're like, oh, like it's $99 a month or $50 a month or whatever, and then you're like, I didn't use it. Versus if it's 5 times that, 10 times that, you're like, oh man, I better use that. But then when you do that, you actually do the work, which is like what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Motivation is fleeting. People will be motivated on the best days, and then sometimes I'm re-listening to David Goggins' book, and the opening is basically when you walk out the door and it's cold. If you turn back around, you're motivated when you wake up circumstances aren't perfect. You turn back around. That's motivation. So sometimes for some people, and I'm one of them, you have to find things other than motivation. For some people, that's just monetary. For some people, it's the way they look. It's the way they feel. The discipline doesn't come from motivation. It comes from other factors. And for me in the beginning, it was the monetary factor.
Yeah, it's leveraging, right, something else against your discipline or your motivation or whatever it is. I'll sometimes post things on social media. That's a goal, to leverage the followers so that they're like, hey, did you actually end up running the marathon?
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, then I'd feel like dumb, even though most people don't even care if I did do it.
But we care.
Yeah, no, totally. We care. But it's the whole point of leveraging, which I think is super important, and just kind of like flipping that switch like you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
What's a lesson, like if you could say something to younger version of yourself, what like 3 tips would you give?
That's a tough one. I feel like I've done a lot of growing up in the past 2 years. So there's 2 or 3 years. There's a lot of things that I wish I could say to younger me. One of them it sounds super cliche, but just be who you are. Don't let the world push you into something that you're not, because I always knew this was the path I was destined for, but I allowed my parents and society and things like that to push me into the more normal college role, which, I mean, looking back, wasn't the direction for me. So the first thing I would tell myself would just listen to yourself and do what makes you happy. Do what, like, the first thing you think of when you wake up in the morning, the last thing you think of when you go to bed. The second thing, don't get fat in college. If you're just listening to this when you're 18 and starting college, or if you're just getting done with college and you're like maybe 21 or 22, just don't drink a bunch of beer. Continue exercising, because it gets exponentially harder to lose the weight once you start to age a little bit. I'm only 27, so it's not like I'm some old geezer, but my God, if I could just go back in time and tell myself to not get fat when I was down in Arizona, it would have helped me so much in the long run. And I think it would have helped my mentality and life in general. And then a third thing, shoot, man, I only got 2.
Only got 2.
Yeah.
One thing to your point about, like, get it nailed down when you're younger, and, like, figure it out when you're younger, is, and I recently created some content on this the other day. It's like when you're in college or like in high school or whatever, like everyone's like, I wish I had the metabolism I had when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can, like your metabolism does slow down to a degree, but not to the degree to which you slow down. If we all rewind back to when we're 18, 19 years old, it's like we wake up, we walk 4 miles to class, and then we go play intramural sports, and then we go work out at the gym, and then we go party for 4 hours. And it's like, yeah, you're eating like trash and maybe not sleeping as well, but you also burn 5,000 calories simply because your activity level's through the roof.
Yep.
Right. And so then you get to 27 and maybe you have a little bit more active job, but people are like in coronavirus time, like sitting down at their desk, and you walk for 30 minutes. It's like, no wonder your metabolism's down, right? Your activity is plummeted. So like, that's a big thing that I would say. But to your point too, if it's hard now, right, and you don't have kids, you don't have a lot more stressors, if you can create the habits in your mid-20s to where it's on autopilot and it's a non-negotiable, versus getting to a point where now, like, maybe you're engaged or maybe you're married and you have more things pulling at your time, and then you have kids, and then you think you're going to get out of that hole that you put yourself in for 10 years.
Good luck.
I mean, you can do it.
You can do it.
There's people like me to help you through it.
Oh, yeah.
But man, it sure would be nice to just get ahead of it so that it wasn't something that you're also trying to tackle while you're tackling a mortgage and a 4-year-old.
Absolutely. You got to create those habits. I mean, I guess that would be the third thing I would tell myself, maybe. Start those habits and just become disciplined.
Yeah.
That's
Anyone who's in the shoes that you were in 2 years ago now, what advice would you have for them? And like, it's mid-January right now, and they're like looking up that hill.
Yeah.
What's 1 or 2 things you would say to them?
Start today. Don't wait until tomorrow, or don't wait until it's perfect. Just do something today. It's never going to be perfect, and nothing's ever going to go right. So, well, things might go right, but just start now. Don't put it off any longer, because there's no point. I mean, the earlier you start, the better you're going to feel, and you're going to complete tasks at a higher rate. And maybe in a year you look back and you're like, damn, I'm glad that I started, when I started, instead of starting now, because if I would have started what I started last year 3 months later, when coronavirus started and the gyms were closed, who knows where I'd be. but I made the call on the same day that I decided I needed help. And I mean, now, I'm here. So just start now. Stop putting it off. Whatever it is, it doesn't even need to be health. If you're looking for a new job, if you're wanting to go see your family, or maybe not see your family right now, but if you're looking to get back in touch with a family member, if you want to get healthy, if you want to do anything, just start now, because the longer you put it off, the more it's going to suck.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even guaranteed that it'll be there.
Yeah, exactly.
When you go to do that. Yeah. And so the opportunity and the opportune moment is now. Just a few personality questions. Yeah. Totally not related to fitness. Okay. They'll be kind of related. So you just finished like a massive leg day. Mm-hmm. You're starving.
Yes.
What's your go-to meal that you're just going to smash?
Well, immediately after I hit legs, I had the bro meal, chicken rice and some greens. Oh, sugar-free barbecue sauce. You know how we do it.
Oh, man.
Now, are you talking about if I could eat anything?
Yeah, you're smashing like
hamburger,
fried chicken.
Hamburger and fries, bro.
Hamburger and fries from where?
Gotta go In-N-Out.
In-N-Out.
Gotta go In-N-Out.
Okay.
Yeah, I like In-N-Out.
He's an Arizona guy. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Or steak. Any kind of steak, really. I'm a red meat guy, I guess.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's your final, like, you're hitting a finisher, like it's arms. You need one song to get you through this massive set. What are you playing?
Oh, something heavy metal. 5x3 is a heavy metal song. I forget who it's by, but it's actually about the pitfalls of Instagram and social media. It's a really hard metal song. One of my friends just showed me the other day. But if you can actually hear the lyrics, they're talking about I believe it's the aspect ratio or something of Instagram pictures is
5x3.
5x3. And it's basically nothing you see on Instagram is gonna make you do what you want to do. So,
dude, I'm about to go through every single lyric of a heavy metal songs and look for those golden, like,
good luck hearing it.
Inspirational nuggets.
I heard it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what they're talking about. But yeah, no, the song is called 5x3 or Bite Down by Gideon.
Okay,
is another good one.
Okay, over the holidays, I'm sure you sat down and watched like a movie or a show. If you could go back and rewatch anything for the first time ever and have that like awe-inspiring moment or that like complete shock, what movie or show would that be?
I'm inclined to go The Office. I know it's such a basic answer. I've watched that show so many times. If I could go back and watch that show from zero, I would love to. But probably Ozark. Ozark had like a lot of crazy moments in that show, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not really like a binge watcher. I'll watch like an episode a week of some shows, but God, I watched Ozark quick.
Ozark, yeah, I watched that really quick.
Yeah.
I think they have another season coming out.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the first season, or the first half of the first season was kind of slow. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is some random spot in Missouri or Illinois or wherever. Yeah. But then it got really good.
I love that show.
Cool. Last one. You can sit down and have dinner with anyone, dead or alive. Who would it be?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you've listened to that guy's biography, and it's not just for his bodybuilding and fitness career, the guy did everything. He had his hands in real estate. He was a politician. He's the world's most famous bodybuilder and fitness personality. He's just done everything, and I would really and he's a poor immigrant from Austria, which I'm sure everyone knows, but still. Mm-hmm. He was in the Austrian army. He was a tank guy in the Austrian army. The guy just lived such a cool life and is still living such a cool life down there in California. So I would just love to sit down and just talk about the lesser known things about his life.
Yeah, I need to read his book.
Total Recall.
One of the things I've heard from that book is that he would sneak out to go get lifts in, and it was like risking crazy punishments just to get a lift in.
Yeah, he talks about how he would walk for miles in the snow in Austria over these hills and through the woods. And when he was in the Austrian army, they approved him putting weights. They approved him putting barbells on his tank when they'd go on these missions, when they go on these training missions. And he would literally lift weight like a barbell in the woods with his friends that he would take off a tank.
That's so funny.
It's so awesome. He's the coolest guy.
Heavy metal Arnold Schwarzenegger. Dude, that's the plate right there.
It is what it is.
Everything you need. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and just connecting. It's been fun connecting with you through social media and working out together. Yeah. And hopefully your story inspires other people to be like, hey, I kind of am in that same spot. I can do that too. And that's going to be my goal for the next 3. I'm going to do all January, all people sharing their stories on these Thursday podcasts so that you can hear not from me because
We love hearing from you.
Because we know I talk enough on the podcast as well, and it's nice to have a guest, and we'll get on other guests too of different influencers or coaches or doctors or whatever. That's going to continue to happen, but I liked the idea of using this time and listening to what you guys are asking for, especially in a time when most people are trying to get that ball rolling. And we're going to show you people who have got the ball rolling and are now creating a ton of inertia downhill.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, just want to say thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. If you got anything out of the podcast, I would love it. I know Carson would love it too. If you would just shoot us a message back on social media via email and let us know what you thought of the episode. Let me know too, like what you think of this series, and if you think this is something that would be really helpful maybe a few months down the road to revisit. This is something I'm totally testing, something that is new. I just got the idea based off, again, some feedback that I got out of my Mindful Muscle Facebook group, which, great transition, wasn't even planning this. If you are interested in joining a community where the 3 pillars are training, nutrition, and mindfulness, and how to level up, master those, and really see some results and have a community of people that are all in the same spot, you can join that. The link in my bio will be set to that. But you can also just shoot me a message and I can get you into that group. It's just a Facebook group, Mindful Muscle Facebook group. You do need to get access to it, and so we'll go in and approve people as needed. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. And if you love the podcast, 5-star rating, interview, subscribe. You guys know the deal. Other than that, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys on Monday with another Mindful Muscle Monday episode. Catch you next time. Peace.